We're here this morning to address a very serious topic. It's about sex trafficking. It's about selling children online. More than 20 months ago, this subcommittee launched a bipartisan investigation concerning how sex traffickers use the Internet to ply their trade. Experts, including many of the victims I've spoken to in my home state of Ohio, tell us that this crime has increasingly moved from the street to the smartphone. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported an 846% increase in reports of suspected child sex trafficking from 2010 to 2015, despite the organization found to be directly correlated to the increased use of the Internet to sell children for sex. Backpage.com sits at the center of that online black market. This is a large, profitable company. Backpage operates in 97 countries and 934 cities worldwide, and was last valued at well over $500 million. According to an industry analysis in 2013, 8 out of every $10 spent on online commercial sex advertising in the United States went to one website, Backpage. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children tells us that Backpage is linked to nearly 3/4 of all suspected child sex trafficking reports that it receives from the general public through its cyber tip line. And according to a leading anti-trafficking organization called Shared Hope International, quote, service providers working with child sex trafficking victims have reported that between 80% and 100% of their clients have been bought and sold on Backpage.com, end quote. That's certainly been my experience as I've talked to victims of sex trafficking in Ohio. Based on this record, our subcommittee saw a compelling need to investigate the business practices of Backpage, especially the efforts it takes to prevent use of its site by sex traffickers. We thought that might be simple enough because Backpage actually promotes itself as a critical ally in the fight against human trafficking. The company says it leads the industry in its screening of advertisements for illegal activity, a process it calls moderation. In fact, Backpage top lawyer Elizabeth McDougall has described their moderation process as the key tool for, and I quote, disrupting and eventually ending human trafficking via the World Wide Web. Despite these boasts, Backpage refused to cooperate with the subcommittee's investigation. They defied our subpoena, failing to appear at a November 2015 hearing or provide the requested documents. In response, the subcommittee brought the first civil contempt action authorized by the Senate in more than 20 years. And in August 2016, the subcommittee prevailed and secured a federal court order rejecting Backpage's meritless objections and compelling the company to turn over the subpoenaed documents. It is now clear why Backpage fought so hard to withhold this information. The subcommittee published a staff report yesterday afternoon that conclusively shows that Backpage has been more deeply complicit in online sex trafficking than anyone imagined. Without objection, that report will be made part of the record. Our report demonstrates that Backpage has concealed evidence of crimes by systematically deleting words and images suggestive of illegal conduct from advertisements submitted to their website before publishing the ads. And some of those ads involved child sex trafficking. Backpage's editing process sanitized the content of millions of advertisements and hid important evidence from law enforcement. This story begins in 2006, apparently, when Backpage executives began instructing staff responsible for screening ads, known as moderators, to edit the text of adult ads to conceal their true nature. By October 2010, Backpage executive formalized a process of both manual and automated deletion of incriminating words and phrases in ads. A feature known as the, quote, strip term from ad filter, end quote, did most of the work. Backpage CEO Carl Ferrer personally directed his employees to create this electronic filter to strip, that is, to delete hundreds of words indicative of sex trafficking or prostitution from ads before publication. To be clear, this filter did not reject ads for illegal activity. Backpage executives were afraid to cut into profits or, in Ferrer's words, quote, piss off a lot, end quote, of customers. Instead, the strip term from ad filter simply altered ads to conceal signs of illegality. They put profits ahead of vulnerable women and children. The evidence is clear that Backpage deliberately edited out words indicative of child sex trafficking and other crimes from the ads. This list of terms is chilling. Starting in 2010, Backpage automatically deleted words including Lolita, teenage, rape, young, little girl, teen, fresh, innocent, schoolgirl, and even Amber Alert, and then published the edited versions of the ads to their website. Backpage also systematically deleted scores of words that were indicative of prostitution. Backpage claims their staff reviews ads to avoid child exploitation. But these terms were stripped out before anyone at Backpage even looked at the ad. And when law enforcement officials came looking for more information about suspicious ads, as they routinely did, Backpage had already destroyed the original ad posted by the pimp or trafficker. The evidence was gone. Think about the real-world practice, the effect of this practice. A trafficker submits an ad on Backpage.com containing a word like Lolita or teen, a pretty good clue that the crime may be afoot. But then Backpage stripped term from ad filter would delete the problematic term and the remainder of the ad would be published. Of course, this editing changed nothing about the real age of the person being sold for sex or the real nature of the advertised transaction. But as one Backpage executive explained, thanks to the filter, Backpage ads looked, quote, cleaner than ever, end quote, to the public eye. We will never know for sure how many girls and women were subject to abuse and exploitation that Backpage.com helped to conceal. By Backpage's own estimate, the company was editing 70 to 80% of ads in the commercial sex section, either manually or automatically, by late 2010. Based on our best estimate, this means that Backpage was editing well over 500,000 ads each year. It's unclear whether and to what extent Backpage still uses stripped term from ad filter. But internal emails indicate the company was using the filter to some extent as recently as April 2014. These are not the practices of an ally in the fight against human trafficking. These are the practices of a corporation intent on profiting from human trafficking and human misery and profit they have at the expense of countless innocent victims. Backpage has not denied a word of these findings. Instead, several hours after the report was issued yesterday afternoon, the company announced the closure of its adult section, claiming censorship. But that's not censorship. That's validation of the findings in the report. As for this new development, I'll just quote from part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children statement about Backpage's closure of its adult site. They said, and I quote, "We are gratified to know that as a result of this closure, a child is now less likely to be sold for sex on Backpage.com. Our ranking member, Senator McCaskill, will have more to say about other key findings in our report. And I just want to conclude by thanking her staff for their shoulder-to-shoulder work with my team on PSI on this bipartisan investigation. I'm also grateful to the members of the full committee and the subcommittee and the Senate as a whole for unanimously supporting us as we pursued the enforcement of the subpoena against Backpage.com. In the weeks and months ahead, I intend to explore whether potential legislative remedies are necessary and appropriate to end the facilitation of online sex trafficking that Backpage.com has pioneered. We'll have more to say on that later.